Welcome to Weekends with Whitney. It's a milestone week for us here on the show. 3 years ago, we aired our very first episode. And this week, as you're watching this, the show is in New York City, highlighting and focusing on Louisianians taking a bite out of the Big Apple. We will share those stories with you in November. But today, I thought it might be fun and a little interesting to do a hard rewind on the show and take you back to our very first episode. Fortunately, I think the show's improved, matured, and found its own groove since then. Our audience has grown since then too, for which we thank you. In that first episode, we thought it was so good. And looking back, we see the hundreds of ways it could have been so much better. From lighting and audio to writing and photography, growing pains. We were thrilled to have Shaquille O'Neal on our first show, but the audio and lighting were so bad, we probably shouldn't have aired it.
I'm very successful, but I haven't got here by myself.
But he's delightful and funny, and so we did. You can decide for yourself if we made the right call on that one. I interviewed Dean Martin's daughter, Dina, via FaceTime because Skype wasn't working. Not so sure looking back I should have aired that either. There's a fun GoPro dog park segment that has so much movement though, you almost need a Dramamine before watching it. We shot DR.NICK segment in his office. But y'all, I didn't even get his name right. Why I added an S on Abraham and ran with it anyway? Well, it's only because I caught my mistake way too late. We're in the office of Dr. Nikki Abrahams, and so those are just some of the mistakes and mishaps in that first show. But take a look and you will find more in there for sure. But as with doing anything, we're going to make mistakes along the way. In sharing this again, we celebrate the learning curves we all have to go through to start anything new. And it didn't stop us, and I hope it never stops you, because it's the first step in doing anything new. I also left the original commercials in the broadcast, because without them, this show would have never gotten off the ground. They believed in something they had never even seen on the air. And I thank them for that. So, let's roll it. Good morning, everyone. I'm Whitney Van. Welcome to the debut show of Weekends with Whitney. Starting today, Sundays just got better. This morning, we're going to go one-on-one with basketball great Shaquille O'Neal. It's a 360-second Shaq attack. We get some FaceTime with music legend Dean Martin's daughter. Find out why her new CD is her best work yet, how she brought her famous father back to stage with her, and where you can see her perform right here in Baton Rouge. Then, we'll break down the barriers keeping us from making big positive changes in our lives with DR.NICK. And we'll go to the dogs with a GoPro camera inside Raising Cane's dog park. But we begin with honeybees. As you're eating breakfast this morning, 1 out of every 3 bites of food you eat is possible only because of the honeybee. But they are dying in record numbers. In the last 30 years, the number of beehives in the U.S. has dropped 50%. And if bees aren't around to pollinate, our entire food supply chain will perish. That's why Louisianians like Ernie Miller are taking up beekeeping in their own backyard. When you buzz by to visit Ernie Miller, you'll soon be suited up and making a beeline for the backyard. Back here are Ernie's beehives.
The Department of Agriculture encourages backyard beekeepers actually have a hive in your backyard. And for a home with a 1/4 of an acre or less, they allow you to have 2 hives.
Ernie's a newcomer to the beekeeping world. He started just 3 years ago when he retired from Exxon.
I got interested because McCartan wasn't doing good, and I wanted one hive, you know, to help my garden. Hundreds of dollars later, you know, I got a really, really fun hobby.
When Ernie's friend Stuart came to check out his bees, he wanted a hive too.
It's really fascinating, the bees, and I just wanted my own bees. I wanted to be able to take care of my own livestock, so to speak.
Ernie and Stuart are now known as the Bee Busters, and they work together unbelievably. As we're off to hijack the honey, Stuart's getting the smoker ready. He blows smoke into the hive to keep the bees from stinging us.
Smoking them confuses them, and they're not able to put out their alarm pheromone.
So even though we're all around and in their hive, none of us get stung. Ooh, yeah.
A lot of honey in it. Feel how heavy it is?
This year, Ernie has harvested 17 gallons of honey. That's up 5 gallons from last year. With our honeycomb heist complete, it's back to Ernie's beehive to extract the honey. You can see when the honeycomb is lifted out of the box, the honey doesn't pour out. That's because the bees have capped the honey into the honeycomb. So Ernie uses an electric knife to shave off the top layer of the honeycomb ever so gently to get the honey oozing out. If the heat of the knife seals some of that honey, he uses this cap scratcher to unseal it. Now it's time to extract the rest of his honey from the honeycomb. And today, we get to see their new extractor used for the first time. And here comes that delicious honey. That little bit I ate took 3 honeybees their entire lives to make. Worker bees, which are all female by the way, live only 6 weeks and make a meager 1/10 of 1 teaspoon of honey in their lifetime. So just imagine how many bees it took to fill this up. Tens of thousands. Fortunately for her, the queen bee lives much longer, nearly 5 years. And since she can lay 2,500 eggs a day, there will always be new worker bees coming in to help sustain her hive. During this time with Ernie, I learned what busy as a bee literally means. Honeybees never sleep. From the minute they're born, they're given a job, and those jobs get harder every day. Their wings stroke 200 times per second, and a hive will fly 90,000 miles, which is 3 orbits around the Earth, just to make 2.5 cups of honey. And talk about staying power. Scientists say honeybees have been on the Earth 40 million years. Us modern humans, only 200,000. But something has been mysteriously killing off the honeybee the last 30 years. Scientists don't exactly know what, but suspect pesticides, infection, or mites. Ernie and Stuart are on a quest to help save the honeybee with their hives and helping anyone else who wants to get started.
Just a couple of hives, join the bee club, they lend out the equipment to extract the honey. You don't have to buy any extraction equipment. Just add to the population, get a couple of hives, get yourself some honey. A couple of hives would be good for what, 5 or 6 gallons a year?
You can help by planting things around your home like lantana, hibiscus, sunflowers, orange, magnolia, or plum trees, or herbs like rosemary, sage, thyme, or parsley. And that'll give the world more honey, honeycomb, beeswax for candles, and much, much more. The health benefits of honey are legendary, and it's so important in our area if you have allergies, because local honey is made from our trees and our flowers, and so it builds up your immune system so that you don't have to suffer with those allergies quite as much. You can find local honey at farmers markets, some of the local specialty stores, and if you want to start your own hive, Ernie says call the Louisiana Beekeepers Association. They'll help you with everything you need. And if you ever needed help making a big change in life, just afraid to make that leap or afraid of the unknown, coming up next, we're going to sit down with DR.NICK. He's going to help us make those big changes we've all been thinking about.
they rolled the red carpet out for me.
It's always been Jerry. Jerry Lane.
You know what? It's tradition, it's family, and that's what keeps us coming back to Jerry Lane.
Get the lane, get the lane. Get the lane, get the lane. Get the lane, get the lane.
We're a Jerry Lane family.
All lanes lead to you can count on Jerry Lane.
Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney, everyone. Let's go on a Shack Attack. Basketball great, basketball legend Shaquille O'Neal is a great sport on and off the court. I call it 260 Seconds with Shaq. I asked him some rapid fire questions from the serious to the silly. Proudest moment.
Proudest moment, receiving my doctorate.
Biggest accomplishment.
Biggest accomplishment, all of them combined.
Most embarrassing moment.
Most embarrassing moment was probably shooting the air ball at the free throw line.
Favorite dessert.
Favorite dessert would be cheesecake with a little vanilla ice cream.
Favorite chicken.
Oh, fried chicken, Lucille fried chicken.
Todd Graves told me you'd say Raising Cane's.
No, that's chicken tenders. Fried chicken.
Biggest challenge.
Nothing.
Favorite way to relax.
Can't tell you. But I do it every day. Trust me. 3 times a day.
Oh, boy. So you have game in more than one way.
Yes.
Biggest disappointment.
Not giving Coach Brown his collegiate championship.
Favorite song.
Favorite song would be, I have a lot of them. Since you're white, I'll give you a favorite white song.
Okay, I'm ready.
I wish I had Jesse's girl. I wish I had it.
Okay, now I want your favorite black song.
My favorite black song would be Can't Say It. Yeah, because it's vocal. I'm putting cases on all you. Can't say it.
Favorite movie.
Oh, Training Day, Denzel.
Best advice you ever received.
Be a leader and not a follower.
Best role model.
Best role model, Lucille and Philip Allison, my parents.
Favorite car.
Favorite car would be my shack bus,
Why?
because it's roomy.
Dumbest purchase.
Oh, dumbest purchase would be every car that I bought and traded in the next year.
Best friend.
Best friend, Letitia, Al, Money Mark, D-Mac. Oh, best friend would be Diesel Dog Mafia. You know who you are.
Favorite city in all the world.
Favorite city in all the world would be, I have a lot. Probably go, oh no, Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Ah.
That's my new city.
What's your next big thing?
My next big thing would to be continue making people smile, staying out of trouble, having a good time.
What's the best advice you could ever give anyone?
Best advice I can give anyone is things that seem hard, break it down and make it easy.
We're in the office of Dr. Nikki Abrahams, and we're talking about changes, and I love that I sat down and the first thing that I saw was this, which says, without change, there would be no butterflies. And it's hard for a lot of us to make some changes. So Dr. Nick is going to be here to help us think about doing that and maybe getting us to do that. Great to see you.
Good to be with you too, Whitney, and it's a real special privilege to have you in my new office.
It's
talking
beautiful.
about change. I've only been here for probably 6 weeks, and you know, we all experience change. We all know how difficult it is and yet how exciting. And I love that you found that sitting on my, can we show them again?
Yeah,
without change, there are no butterflies, and it's still risky.
It is
It's
still risky.
very
And sometimes the
risky.
older we get, the harder change is. Is it we have more to lose, or we get stuck in our ways?
I remember years ago a professor of mine talking about how we have to create a center of our universe. And it's more than just saying we're creatures of habit. We need stability. We need a certain center. It's not an ego thing. So part of this is natural. We're very comfortable. Does that make sense? When my mother died, they wanted to move my father. And I said, absolutely not. He needs the stability. Now, but that's not enough to just say, okay, let's be habitual, because seasons come and change. Chapters in our life come. I'm in a new office. You've got a new show. And part of that demands risk.
I've wanted to do it for years, but I was holding back for whatever reason. And maybe it was the fear of
Failure?
Failure.
Yeah, absolutely, the fear of failure. I'd also say it's also the fact that there's a certain comfort. And what I struggle with though so much is people that are miserable, people that are so unhappy. And it's like to take a chance, try something new. But there comes a time when it's like, no, maybe the new me is calling me to something else.
Oh, I felt like something was calling me.
Did
for
you?
Sure.
Did you?
Yeah. And I really probably stayed too long because I just hit a wall with getting up at 3:30 in the morning, like the whole exhaustion level.
Yeah.
But I loved my job and I loved who I worked with, and so it was hard to give that up.
You just struck something that I think is really important for the audience to hear, the sense of a little regret. And I think we need to face that. But what we don't want to do is get caught up in regret and say, oh, I should have done this, or I should do this, or I should do that when we make change. We also look back at those incredible moments of joy and growth and opportunity right? It's not just regret, because there's never finished business, Whitney. Life is never finished. So we have to say, I'm taking the leap, or I'm making the change. But there's no finished business until we're dead. So we have to be resolved that, no, I'm making this move, and I'm taking this risk, and I'm looking more forward to what can be instead of what I fear.
Sure, and that can be in a job, in a relationship, in parenting.
It's constant change. The real issue, if I just may, is knowing that when you're changing, there's going to be an ending. That means loss. And then there's going to be the new beginning. And in between that kind of ending and beginning, there's kind of that liminal moment, almost withdrawal. I'm not comfortable with where I am. It's almost like if I stood between the door. I'm moving from one room to the next. You know, it's a certain disquiet, discomfort. But that's what makes life exciting.
How do we not wait until the end? And I say that because I was at the end of getting up at 3:30 in the morning. You know, why couldn't I have made this decision a year before? You know what I'm saying? I guess there are a lot of people who are probably stuck in a rut at work or relationship, whatever, and they're like, I just can't move. How do we move sooner?
The hardest part of change is not thinking it, it's moving.
Oh,
it's
physical.
The feet. It's the walking the talk. It's I'm going to do it. Just, you know, we talk about I need to change. Well, you only change by changing.
Right.
I mean, it's just that simple. You know, you only make a move when you decide I'm going to make the move. And that's a tough call because we're never quite sure when the right time is. Yeah. And that's why I think we need to be careful not to have a lot of regrets about movement or about, oh, I should have done this earlier. It's like, no, it's okay. There's an acceptance that it's all right. It's good out.
Absolutely. It's always
great to be with you, Whitney.
You too.
I love you. Great to be with you.
Thanks so much. So glad
and
you're
thanks
part of the
again for being a part of my office.
I love it. It's perfect. And coming up next, we are going to head to the dog park. We're going to pull out the GoPro camera, and we're going to be a dog literally in the park.
I love it.
It's some fun. Coming up next.
Your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
Many of us have been by the Raising Cane's dog park, looked at all the dogs playing, frolicking, and having a great time. Some of us have even taken our dogs in there. But have you ever experienced it through a dog's eye view? Well, today we're going to go into the dog park with Risa.
Wayne Stabler Companies is offering one card for $4. Le Creole, The Little Village, Stab's Steak and Seafood. 4 sizzling restaurants, one card.
I'm on my 3rd Tahoe.
And I'm on my 4th Chevy Silverado pickup.
It's always been Jerry.
Hey, you know I've had 4 Camaros, 5 Corvettes. Got them all from Jerry Lane.
We're proud to be a Jerry Lane family.
Always leads you. You can count on Jerry Lane.
Deana Martin, the daughter of music icon Dean Martin, is coming to Baton Rouge this Saturday night. She has a new CD, and on it and on stage, she sings with her famous father. Deana and I got to share a little FaceTime, literally, to talk about her new CD, Destination Moon.
Oh, first of all, it's just a fantastic CD, and of course it's my favorite one so far, Destination Moon. And I have a wish list of all the songs that I want to sing. And when we're putting together an album, we kind of get an idea of what it's going to be. And my handsome husband, John, that you saw a little while ago, found the original handwritten Nelson Riddle arrangement. And we went in and re-recorded all this beautiful music, and I did a duet with my dad. Went to Capitol Studios and used his chart, used his microphone, and I was able to sit in the same studio that my dad had recorded True Love, a Cole Porter tune, and I did the duet with him, and it was very difficult to get through it because I'm hearing the beautiful music, and then I'm hearing my dad's voice, and I'm holding his chart. And I couldn't sing, I just wanted to cry.
Sure.
And we got through it, and it turned out it's so beautiful. And I went back into the playback booth, listened to our voices together, and it was just, again, overwhelming for me because our voices blended so beautifully, and we sounded so wonderful together. So that's true love. What he has done for my life is unbelievable. So for me to be able to sing that song, True Love, with him, is absolutely, heaven, a dream come true.
Tickets are just $15 for general admission, $25 for VIP. The show is Saturday night, 7 o'clock at the Belle of Baton Rouge. And if you'd like tickets, call 225-293-2551. Nearly 5,000 people enjoy the LSU lakes on any given day. They're exercising, picnicking, feeding the ducks, or just simply relaxing. But perhaps you've never seen the LSU lakes from inside the LSU lakes. So as we close out this debut show of Weekends with Whitney, we're going to take you paddleboarding on the LSU lakes. And thanks for joining us on this first show. We hope to see you back here same time next Sunday. The 3 years later weekends with Whitney will be back next Sunday as we're in New York celebrating Louisianians who are indeed taking a bite out of the Big Apple. Hope you all have a great Sunday and hope to see you back here again next week.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that doesn't sleep and find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap. These little town blues are melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York if I can